Okay, welcome to the latest edition of the Las Películas Sábados Gigantes podcast. It's our second podcast, so please forgive the lack of production skills that'll be improving as we go. So tonight we actually had two films. We started our new theme from the 1930s, and I'll explain that. But first, we'll go around the table, and everybody will introduce themselves. Just your first name. My name is Ed.
Condi.
Zeb.
Kenzie.
John.
I'm Matt.
All right. Yes, and tonight we started our theme. This theme this time around is the improper 1930s, which means it has to be any movie anybody picks has to be either made between the years 1930 and 1939 or set between 1930 and 1939. And we started it off tonight with two, which is a rare occasion for us, but it's nice because we got two done because the first was very short. So we started with Kenzie, one, and she picked 1932's Island of Lost Souls. Have you got your tablet? You should grab that. And then we did because it was only like 71 minutes, and then so we did another pick, which was which Zeb won, and he picked the brand new Criterion release of Make Way for Tomorrow by Leo McCarey. I forget who directed Island of Lost Souls. I'm going to actually look that up right now. But yeah, so it was actually two great films to start this off. In fact, it was exciting. There was a great vibe in the room when Kenzie's pick first went on. There was a great deal of excitement because everybody knew it was going to be awesome, I think. So let's talk about how awesome it was or wasn't. So we'll start. I guess I'll start. Okay, so
We're still working out the bugs.
Dude, yeah, I know, right? And I guess let's do this one at a time. I won't give like my opinion on both films. We'll start with the first, and then we'll move on to the second. So the first one we watched was Island of Lost Souls, 1932, based on a book by H.G. Wells. I'm looking up the director right now. So of course, obviously, I loved this movie. I thought this was fantastic. In fact, I'd been wanting to see it because Criterion just put this out too. They just put out not just, in the last couple of years, they put out a Blu-ray and a new DVD transfer of it, and it looked really nice. And it was just a ton of fun. It was a great. It goes right. I don't know. It reminded me of The Most Dangerous Game a little bit because it starts on a boat. And an island, and you know, crazy weird guys with big eyebrows
And references to Long Pig.
Yes, yes.
They
And
probably recycled that island from A Dangerous Game.
they may have because they did that with King Kong because they took the same set from King Kong or from Most Dangerous Game became Spider Island or Skull Island, whatever it was in King Kong. So that wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, and it was super creepy. The makeup was great, even though, like, by today's standards, there might be some who would argue that the makeup wasn't good. I thought it was fantastic because, like, it looked gross and weird, and they looked like people I didn't want to talk to or have to see behind me. And there was all kinds of, like, creepy moments with these weird guys. And
I'm sure half of them they didn't need makeup.
yeah, you may be right.
Hollywood transients. Hey, pal, you want to be in a movie?
They started off hairy, and they just made him a little bit hairier.
Yeah. But so yeah, I thought it was a ton of fun, and also I was surprised at how sort of influential the film kind of was. If you're a fan of Oingo Boingo or Devo, both bands got some really good material out of the whole.
Yeah, a lot of inspiration.
The
from that film.
No Spill Blood and the House of Pain and the Are We Not Men bit. So I thought it was just a wonderful, is that sci-fi? I mean, it kind of is sci-fi, right? I mean, because.
Well, I would think so.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like sci-fi horror, sort of.
The Island of Dr. Moreau, I think you would, which is kind of a remake off of this. I would put that into
science fiction.
The sci-fi kind of genre.
Okay,
Because
cool.
the science is really where the story comes from. The craziness with the whole animal thing.
Right. So and it's also like an action adventure too at the same time. And so I thought it was really fun, and I enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah, it was really good.
So, Condi, what'd you think?
It was definitely a great movie. I could see the comedy in a lot of it because I just kept thinking how the island of Dr. Moreau was like an early Home Depot where people can go up and like, I need 5 that can paint, and you got all these hairy dudes that'll come out there and do stuff for you.
Yes, I'm sure that's the feeling they were trying to evoke too.
Well, of course, it's good to see that Mexicans had something to do even in the 30s.
So directed by Earl C. Kenton. Written by Waldemar Young and Philip Wiley and others. Okay.
Sounds like something was in developmental hell for a while.
So I hit writing credit, right? So I tap it, and others is H.G. Wells. So yeah,
really,
how about
he
that?
got kind of bumped down the list by
he's simply others.
a couple of people that I haven't heard of before.
All right, Zeb, you want to weigh in on this one?
I liked it. Charles Lawton as Dr. Moreau.
Yes.
Great performance. I also enjoyed the makeup. Bela Lugosi. I can't say enough about this movie. I really liked it, and I was very surprised it was our first pick.
Yeah.
Because it kind of kicked off the series off right. And the Panther Woman. The thing that bothered me about the Panther Woman is that Dr. Moreau is trying to make the guy mate with the Panther Woman, and I just keep picturing in my mind how the offspring would look like, this weird half human, half panther, just deformity just pops out. And it will probably be, since it was in the 30s, it would probably be shot or sent to the rail yards to work, or back to the island.
Or it certainly wouldn't be allowed to dine with white folks.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole point that Dr. Moreau was trying to accomplish, is that she wasn't any longer a panther. She was like a full-fledged human being, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of what he was getting at.
Yeah, he was like trying to accelerate evolution or something like that.
The science of which was a little iffy.
Bear in mind, I think this is only like a decade or what after the Scopes monkey trial or something.
Yeah.
We're going back a little ways here.
Yeah. All right, Kenzie, what did you think of your pick? It's okay.
Yeah, get that mic.
Okay. Well, I hope it makes.
No, you got to talk close to that. There we go.
And I liked it. I mean, I was pleased with it, especially because I had been weighing like 2 other options, and I think both of those would have been really good too. So I was happy with it. And those guys like totally creeped me out. So
good, I wasn't alone.
Probably gonna have some hard time sleeping.
All right, John.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good pick. I thought it was a great way to start off the series. I wanted to see that one for a long time because I've seen the On Dr. Moreau with Val Kilmer.
Marlon Brando.
And Marlon Brando, yeah. And that, I mean, actually, a lot of people didn't like that. I thought it was all right. I've seen it a couple times, and I thought it was okay.
That was definitely not a bad movie.
Yeah, I don't think it deserves the hatred that it gets.
How long has it been since you've seen it?
I got off of Netflix probably maybe 5 years ago or something. Recently.
There's a documentary about that film.
Is that how many cheeseburgers Brando ate?
Well, I think that's part of it. They're actually running it at the Cine Family this month, and
of course they are,
because I guess it's this super it's a total mind fuck of a production. Aside from the finished product, I guess how it came together and all this kind of stuff, and the production was beset by all these weird things, and it was there was all kinds of studio infighting, which made the movie and script changes, and so it ended up being weird. I don't know. I want to see it, but it's funny. It's funny that I would just read about that, and then we would have this because
it ties in with that.
I figured the Val Kilmer one would come up at some point.
Well, and and it was interesting to compare it's the same basic storyline. They just tell it in a different way. But it was really cool. Like I said, I was wanting to see it for a long time. Bela Lugosi, I didn't realize it was him at first because you see him and he's gone. And then he comes back, and it's
he's got so much hair on his face. I should have recognized the voice. But he's hidden behind all that.
There's
makeup.
that great shot too at the end when they're all kind of coming at the camera. All those different, the animal people, the manimals,
the human animals.
Yeah, the human animals, and they're all just super creepy looking, and you really get a good look at the makeup and stuff. And it's so it was a solid start. I'm glad we started with something, kind of like a sci-fi or horror I think it was good to kick things off. So yeah, definitely good pick.
Yes, indeed.
You definitely get to see how they always loved to dress in white in the 30s too.
Yeah, really put white
Well,
suits.
it's the for movies. I think it has a lot to do with like the cinematography, just the contrast, because everything is in black and white. So I think that kind of it might be part of that.
Well,
I think Ted Turner would disagree with you.
all right.
Well, I thought it was sort of an important affectation of the character because, I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I mean, Moreau's clearly okay. Today, like science, I don't know. Like there might be some interesting debates over like what he's doing in the movie. I don't know, but like the idea in the movie is that he's immoral, that he's a bad guy.
Which I don't agree with necessarily.
But well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he's so convinced of the importance of what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the white suit kind of reflects that. Like he thinks,
yeah, that's
because
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? He thinks he's the fucking greatest scientist in the world, doing like the greatest work. So I don't know, like this fucking like immaculate white suit all the time. Like he's like the goddamn
his conscience is clear basically.
Right. That's kind of how I.
Which it should be, but I mean, he didn't have to deal with like PETA or shit like that.
Well,
You know?
He's on his own island, so I assume there's no law out there than his own.
Yeah.
So
People for the eating of tasty animals.
Yeah, dude, sign me up. That actually does bring up an interesting point, though. I mean, well, okay, let's go to you, Dr. Matlis, as the leading scientific mind here at the table. Like,
you want me to discuss the biology?
No, the ethics,
the complex,
the
ethics.
the ethics. Well, how different is what's going on in this movie from like what's going on in like fertility labs and stuff today, really? Except for the fact that it's not actually other animals.
I really wouldn't know. This is not my area.
You haven't worked on any human animal projects yourself?
I'm sorry to say no.
I mean, but like, okay, so let's say like in your, lab, if you caught wind that on another floor they were like doing this, would you be like, "That's cool, I got to check that out," or would you be like, "I question the morality"?
No,
of
I would
this?
definitely be questioning the morality of that. Come on.
Well, I mean, I suppose it depends on what they were doing and how they were doing it. We never really get any insight into Dr. Moreau's. Other than when he's chopping that guy
his
up
motives
alive,
or anything,
or
we
his
don't really
processes, like
true, yeah.
what he's
it's just
it
whatever's
involves
going
pain,
on. Well, yeah,
whatever it
whatever's
is.
going on in the House of Pain. When it's like we don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
we get like one quick glimpse, but
and it is pretty disturbing that he's just carving a guy up alive. Makes one think of Dr. Mengele or something like that.
Well, that's an interesting point that you brought up because it's like I think that this was going through my head when we were watching this flick, and I was like, I was thinking of exactly that, like the experiments that were done, like in Nazi Germany. It's like, of course, like ethics just went right out the window,
Right.
But I mean, there was a lot of advancement in kind of biological sciences. It's just like it's
like you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like it's like
well, there was like horrific things done, but
there was also
advancements,
right.
But it's
there was
like,
things learned from it.
You know what I'm saying. There shouldn't have been those kind of sacrifices done, but
Right.
there's a lot of really interesting stuff that comes with it.
At least they started out as animals, and then they were made into people.
instead of the other way
right,
around.
which that would seem to be more messed up that he was taking people and making them into animals. It seemed like that would be
Yeah.
a little more mad scientist-y.
It's all a matter of context with things like that. Of course, everybody thinks like nobody wants to experiment on humans, especially like during the Nazis and everything like that with all the experimentation. But you have all these different types of sharks that you almost never see, and of course, you don't want to kill them. But sometimes certain sacrifices have to be made in order to advance things or to understand it.
To
like
learn about
why sharks don't get cancer. Why they don't have Alzheimer's or anything like that.
Well, I guess it's you don't want them to like have to experiment on animals, but if they didn't, they wouldn't. We wouldn't have all the things these days that cure diseases and all the modern science. If it wasn't for
I can give a shit about makeup, but
but for medical stuff, it just kind of has to be done.
So is it possible then that maybe like Moreau was like working on some cures?
Hey, that's what I say. I think I was on his side. I was on Dr. Moreau's side.
But anyways, all the ethics and stuff aside, I thought it was a great flick. I mean, beautifully shot. like even just the black and white, how they use the black and white, like
Yeah.
the use of shadows and everything.
Yeah.
Was just brilliant. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, total agreement with the makeup. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
Like, those guys just
Genuinely unsettling.
really, very. Yeah, like especially like when the guys are just kind of like hanging out in the background. Just like just creeping over their shoulders. Like
that's another thing
because they're minions.
Right.
But
they're also like voyeurs.
yeah.
Like, 'cause they, like that was actually one of the things that I sort of really enjoyed about the way it was done is there was a lot of attention paid to making sure that like in just about every shot there's one or more like skulking around like somewhere and so you always have this idea that like I don't know, it's funny because Dr. Moreau, obviously you get to the island, he obviously is he's totally cocksure, he's not worried about anything, but I don't feel safe, you know what I mean, like I don't feel that they're safe at any point ever because they're always like dudes on the out, like, and even though they get scared away real easily, it's like...
Well, it's like as soon as they get to the island and he's scaring the guys off with the whip, to me, if I was the other guy who's with him, like, okay, so what you're saying is if you didn't have that whip right now, we'd be screwed. Right. Like, the only reason that your minions aren't killing us is because you've got a whip. So the second we get separated or you drop the whip or your back is turned, like, they're just going to jump on us.
I also thought it was really interesting how it was kind of a non-issue with the guy. Like what the hell were these
that's
things?
true.
That
He's just
was
being led through the jungle, and there's like these crazy freak mutant ape people like
Maybe
hanging
right,
in the
and like
trees.
right up on him too.
Yeah.
Like right behind him, like you could probably like feel like them breathing, and he's just like, at no point does he be like, "Yo, like Dr. Moreau, you want to tell me about this?" Like these are like these ain't no natives like I ever seen.
They were the natives, so maybe he didn't want to be racist, and he didn't want to be like talking like these weird like freak people. I was like, well, they're just the native people.
I'm sure that was a major concern.
Yeah, I'm sure they were really worried
in
about that.
1932.
Well, it was great how they were all the natives were quote unquote natives, at least were all animalistic. How they were looking at everybody, and that's why they were so afraid of the whip because they're still animals. And the ones that were least afraid or, knew more things were the more, human-like ones, like his butler, like the panther chick. But everybody else was just like, let's, climb the tree and, look down on them. And, how the guy climbed the tree and, like, pounced on the captain and choked him out, like a cat would.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool that they, still kept those things into consideration. Or at least, H.G. Wells did, when he did the book. Of course, another man ahead of his time, that they didn't know it then, but we definitely know it now.
Yeah. No, for sure. I also too, the film goes at a very brisk pace. I mean, I know it's like shorter than, most movies would be today, but, it goes by at a pretty good clip. I mean, you pretty much get going right off the bat. You know what I mean? From when you got the guy on the boat, and then you get to the island, and like automatically within 10 minutes, there's these creepy weirdos.
Even before they get to the island, there was some on the boat right there.
And the makeup was great too, like that hairy ear on that dude that looked like Danny Trejo that the captain punched out.
I really think it helped that they got people who are weird looking to begin with, and then applied makeup to them so that they already had half their job done for them.
Well, one more thing I'd like to bring up, and I don't know if this kind of like irked anyone else, but it like with the guy's girlfriend, it was at the very beginning, really.
Yeah.
And
very glamorous looking.
Yeah, it seemed like she wasn't really too bummed. Like when she learned that her fiance's boat went down, she's like, "Oh no!" And then she gets a telegram that's like, "Oh, he's been rescued." She's like, "Oh, great."
Well, she does.
Well, she did like that heavy breathing, smiling thing, like when after she got the telegram.
It just seemed very
People
kind
were more
of
subdued back
non-emotional.
then.
Yeah, and she did
I think maybe
orchestrate
more controlled of her emotions.
I don't know. I mean, I think maybe that's the way it was.
Well, I somewhat agree
filmed.
with the good doctor about this because they always had them slapping the women back then. Like, we're going to bring you back to your senses and just give them a good one. 5 across the eyes, and then they finally had their senses about them. I mean, if we could do that nowadays, I mean, sorry, Kenzie, but every now and then we just got. No, I'm just kidding. Sorta.
Anyways, we should go around and say how many stars we give this. 'Cause I think we kind of skipped that. Should we?
That's a good idea. I guess I'll start. I'm giving it 4. It was absolutely, Zeb, you mentioned that it was a great way to kick off the theme, the series, and I couldn't agree more. For me, there's just something kind of magical about like old film, and I don't know. It's like listening to old recordings or watching film, even though they're dramatic representations of real life. They're still like time capsules, and they still captured real life on some level. So it's like it's the closest thing you have to like traveling in time is watching. So there's something kind of like magical to be a little lame about it, about watching old film. So just the sort of the excitement in the room and the music and the film stock and I'm seeing these names that I love, Charles Lawton and Bela Lugosi and this kind of stuff. It was just a really fun way to start it off and set the tone perfect. So I'm giving it 4. Condi?
I'm going to give it 5 for sure. I'm super jealous that I wasn't able to pick this movie. My hat's off to Kenzie for it.
Was it going to be one of your choices?
It was in contention for one of my choices because I haven't actually I've seen parts of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing. I think it's one of those movies that everybody nowadays could learn a lot of stuff from. It tells, like Ed said, a complete story in just over 60 minutes. So was it 71-minute movie, something like that? Peter Jackson, take a cue from this.
Seriously,
no kidding.
It was great. The makeup, as everyone says, awesome. It's just fantastic, especially for the time period. The only better makeup I can think of in a movie, really, for the times would be like an American Werewolf in London, kind of makeup, or even Silver Bullet, kind of stuff. People, it's a lost art, the art of makeup. They have shows about it. Fuck the CG guys, go back to makeup. It looks better.
That's what I'm saying. I'm right there with you, man. Zeb?
I'll give this movie 4 stars. Great way to kick off the series. I liked everything about the film, the makeup. One thing that someone commented on during the screening was the lighting of the film, how very German noir it was, and I thought it was really interesting because I was looking at other films for this week's pick, and Night of the Hunter by Charles Lawton, directed by Charles Lawton.
Yes, the only film he ever directed.
Only film he ever directed. I saw a lot of the influences of this film in Night of the Hunter, as far as the use of shadows.
No shit, you're right. A lot of the diagonal, the diagonal lines, the kind of the shapes, the shadows across the face and stuff. Yeah,
so
kidding.
If it wasn't for this film, we wouldn't have had that classic of Night of the Hunter. So definitely 4 stars for me.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And good call on bringing up Night of the Hunter there because Charles Lawton demonstrating that he had talent. He had chops as more than just an actor because. I think you're right. Night of the Hunter is truly an iconic classic and one of the greatest in history. We'll have to do the 50s next time, so we can screen Night of the Hunter. I've actually been I've been wanting to do Night of the Hunter as one of my picks for a long time, but it just hasn't worked out properly yet. But one of these days, Kenzie.
Well, first of all, thank you for the 5 stars, Connie. That's awesome.
Of course.
I think I'm giving it 4 stars. But I changed it because as soon as we were done watching it, I was going to give it 5. And then the second movie kind of made me change my mind a little bit. So
Yeah, you got to...
4 it
All
is.
right. John?
I'm going to give it 4. Solid 4-star film. And it looked really nice. The transfer was beautiful. I'm sure that movie hasn't looked that good, even probably since it played originally in theaters, and it was great to see.
God bless Criterion.
Yeah, I feel richer in my life having seen that film. So yeah, I can't give it 5 only because, like I said last week, I saved 5 for just the absolute top because, and the reason for that I get a chance to explain is really like if you give out 5s normally, then where do you take it from there?
Right.
You can't go to 6, so I have to hold 5 back for things that's the absolute top. So.
Right.
But for that to be said, then the 4 is like basically my highest normal review. So
all right,
4 stars.
All right, Matt.
I would give it I'm giving it 4. I would think it gets like 4+.
Yeah,
So I'm rounding down a little bit, but in total agreement, is like a great way to kick off this series of 1930s. It was just a classic that, I mean, I've seen parts of this before. I haven't seen it all the way through. This is the first time seeing it.
Right.
And it's a great film. It just great pick.
Yeah.
Just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, no, I want to watch it more. Like I know that this is a film, like this is the first time I'd seen it too, but I know this is one that I'm going to be watching, repeated times. You know what I mean? I'll be watching this again. I just wanted to mention before we move on, some of the trivia on IMDb real quick. So there's a big chunk here about this movie's influence on music. It says members of the new wave band Devo were fans of the film, obviously. The What is the Law sequence formed part of the lyrics to Devo's song Jocko Homo, with Lugosi's query Are We Not Men, providing the title of their 1978 debut album Are We Not Men, We Are Devo. Oingo Boingo is another new wave band who paid tribute to the film with their song No Spill Blood, which featured the refrain What is the Law. The Meteors, a psychobilly band from the UK, told the story of the film in their song Island of Lost Souls on their 1986 album Teenagers from Outer Space. The Cramps, an American psychobilly band, featured the song The Natives Are Restless on their Psychedelic Jungle album. Heavy metal band Van Halen paid homage to the film in the original version of their song House of Pain, the early lyrics for which directly reference the storyline of the movie. During onstage introduction of the song circa 1976-77, Van Halen vocalist David Lee Roth routinely gave a brief synopsis of the film. The song was shelved for the better part of a decade, but eventually resurfaced with a different non-movie related lyrics and released on the 1984 album. The U.S. horror rock band Manimals based much of their stage persona on the film. Their 1985 Blood is the Harvest vinyl EP closes with the song Island of Lost Souls. The track includes a What is the Lost section that the fans would chant during live shows. That's pretty neat. The identity of the actor who played Owlman is unknown.
It'll haunt me to the end of my days.
That's actually really scary to me. That just makes those guys seem like more creepy.
He's
that's
outside
really...
right now looking at us.
Yeah, I know, right?
He appears whenever someone watches the film.
Catch me. Yeah, he's like Bloody Mary or
Candyman.
Or the Candyman or the Ring Girl. Let's see. Anything else interesting or particular?
I would have never guessed there was like so much music trivia to be like associated with this movie. Yeah, like I knew a couple, but it's like, all right, the Cramps, the UK band, Van Halen. What the crap?
Also says inspired the 1981 song of the same name by Blondie.
Blondie.
After making Island of Lost Souls, Charles Lawton humorously claimed that he couldn't go to a zoo for the rest of his life. That's pretty fucking awesome. Charles Lawton claimed that he based his Dr. Moreau appearance on that of his dentist.
What kind of dentist would be
I wish, dude. I want my dentist.
The kind that has
like
a house of pain.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Why must you turn my office into a house of lies? Let's see.
So I wouldn't want my dentist to have like that facial hair he did.
That was well trimmed. This was pretty controversial too, I guess. In response to British censors who claimed the film was against nature, Elsa Lanchester, who was Mrs. Charles Lawton, is said to have stated, "Of course it's against nature, so's Mickey Mouse." Which is true.
Yeah, the anthropomorphic talking mouse does not exist.
Bela Lugosi made the film for a salary of just over $800, which was less than any other actor on the project.
I heard he made it for a six-pack in a nudie magazine.
Lugosi accepted the fee in the role because he was in the middle of bankruptcy.
He needs his mortgage?
Yeah, he needed a smack fix.
And the film was refused a cinema certificate in 1933 by the BBFC and remained banned in the UK until July 1958.
Does it give a reason?
I wonder if they banned it for like the technical bestiality in the thing.
It was all the first video nasty.
I mean, for
It
back
kind of
then,
sounds like it.
There's a lot of things, with this where I could see that they would ban it.
Well,
this
for
scantily clad Panther chick.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to mention that for 1930s. That's showing a lot of skin.
Yeah, and I mean, and like the forceful grab and the kiss and everything.
Yeah,
they didn't really do that. I mean, he didn't even kiss his fiancée in the entire thing. They're sleeping like from across the room.
Also, just one more quick note. It is ranking a 7.6. You know what? Stop putting that fucking thing back in there. It's way noisy. Just hold it. Just fucking hold it. It's so noisy.
We need to get more mics.
I know. No, stands is what we need. We need more stupid microphone stands. We'll talk.
Welcome to episode 2.
Yeah, right. We're still working.
I don't remember that part of the movie.
So yeah, 7.6 on IMDb. All right, so now we'll move on to our second pick, which Zeb selected.
Sorry.
How dare you? Bum the whole group out with it.
It was like
I felt so bad, and that's why I yelled out shit when I won.
Yeah.
I was like, shit. This is going to bum the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah, like I said, I had read on Criterion's website when they were putting it out, because they like, this thing just came out on Blu-ray, a brand new transfer on Blu-ray and DVD, and I was like, oh, like I hadn't heard of this, and I read the description, and it sounded like a tearjerker, and it sounded like awful. Zeb and I were talking about earlier in the week at the station, and we were kind of comparing it to Ozu's Tokyo Story. I don't know. I think you watched that with me, John, but
yeah.
It was. I think it was very much like that, and kind of in a contemporary way. In fact, Tokyo Story might have been made after this.
I think it was in the 60s it was made.
Was it? Okay, let me look that up. But yeah, it was, and they had talked about, just like I said, I hadn't heard about this movie, and Criterion mentioned that it was this sort of hidden gem that it wasn't talked about a lot because it wasn't big and bold, and I don't think it was nominated for any awards or anything like that, but that it was this really touching, like gripping portrayal of like sort of financial desperation in the 30s.
I wonder if it had a happy ending.
Tokyo Story is 53.
53.
I think there were rumors of it having an alternate
happy ending.
Well, not having it like a produced alternate ending, but
right.
I think when it was in the works that they, what was I reading? There was something about someone was trying to convince the producer to have it to give it a happy ending,
right? But
then they refused, and then ended up getting their contract not renewed or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's more, I think, artistically sound that it doesn't have it.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree.
But I think that I feel like, like John and Jane Q Popcorn maybe would have liked it more if they had a happy ending.
Well, I think that's what this industry mogul was.
Yeah,
that was the argument, that they would get more asses in the seats.
Well, I mean, I guess it's just art over.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad they made that decision.
Yeah.
Well, so before we talk about that, let's go to Zeb, the man who selected this film.
Sorry.
And no, I think we all won, even though it was definitely heart-wrenching.
This is probably the hardest pick I ever had to pick for this group.
Well,
yeah.
So
tell us, me work.
Tell us how you why you selected this one, or how you got to that decision.
I picked 10 core films from the 30s to show.
Right.
And I had I don't know which one to show. This person may like this one. This one may be like fuck you to everybody.
Right.
And so literally an hour before I got here, I just threw up all the DVDs in the air and just closed my eyes and caught one, and this was it. And I was like, oh fuck. I remember Orson Welles saying oh, this is the most depressing movie of all time. and so I'm like, all right. Just going to bring this in, make everybody cry and feel terrible about themselves.
Well, I like, too, how Orson Welles' word, carries that kind of weight. You know what I mean? If Welles said it, you know what I mean? It's worth checking out. So let's start with you, Condi, and we'll go around clockwise. What did you think of Make Way for Tomorrow?
I was like, shit, man. Couldn't you have, caught Stagecoach or something? I mean, fuck. I'm... Obviously, the tear-jerking part doesn't translate too much to today, but I can see how, there wasn't a dry eye in the seats back in the 30s.
People don't have parents these days?
Orphans.
People... Yeah,
orphans do not
there
understand
is
this film.
way more children today that don't know their parents.
True.
Because back then it was like you had the kid, your family was raising you with the kid and everything. It's definitely a movie of the times, but there's a lot of poignant things to it, because there is a lot of people that absolutely don't give a shit about their parents. They let their parents raise them. They grow up, get out of the house, and I got my own life. I got my own family now. Sorry, mom and dad, I really can't take care of you. And at least they had like the one, son that really wanted to do something for him, but he was strapped trying to do something, that he really couldn't do himself, but he wanted to because he loved his parents. And he can only take the one in. I mean, the long distance relationship between, the mom and the dad and the whole thing it was all really sad. But then, you see what the toll it takes on everybody. I mean, it was a good pick, but it's definitely a pick that it doesn't, I wouldn't say translate incredibly well. Like, you couldn't make a modern version of it. I mean, they've tried to, like, what's the movie Julianne Moore just won the Academy Award for?
Still Alice?
Yeah. That was a great movie, but you're not going to get too many movies like that. They just make a movie like that so, they can give her an Academy Award that she should have won a long time ago, kind of thing. But I still enjoyed the movie. It was a great flick, and, once again, telling an entire story in a little period of time, and it was a great story to be told.
Yeah, for sure. Zeb?
When I first saw this movie after it was released on Criterion, I was surprised that it was directed by Leo McCrary, who directed Duck Soup, probably the funniest movie I've ever seen.
Yes, Leo McCrary.
Just beautiful, beautiful movie. And then he makes this one, and it's the most saddest movie I've ever seen. One of the most saddest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and
actually, he's known. Wow, he did Going My Way, The Bells of St. Mary's, Duck Soup. He won a Best Director Oscar
twice, I think.
Yeah, actually, he won. He won one the same year this came out.
And when he won,
for the other
said,
movie, it was for the wrong movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said when he won, he said, "You guys are giving me this award for the wrong movie."
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I really want to see The Awful Truth to see if that's in fact
how it stacks up.
Yeah,
Cary Grant is in it, I believe.
Oh man, how could you go wrong?
Yeah, so that's what's really surprised me, and just seeing all these actors in there, Faye Banter, Thomas Mitchell from a Stagecoach.
Yeah,
seeing him all nice and cleaned up.
Yeah, totally different character.
And just like as you guys said, it's a time capsule for the 30s. Going to the movies. Apparently, 17-year-olds are okay hanging out with 35-year-olds.
I know, right?
I still don't know what happened to the daughter. Like, did she have a susmortion or something? Like, did they take her across state lines? I don't know. And just like how radio was a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Those
the good old days.
So that's why this was one of my core 10 picks.
Okay, cool. All right, Kenzie, what'd you think?
Well, I'm glad I didn't cry. That would have been kind of
It was a
embarrassing,
challenge.
but I made it through, so that's good. But yeah, it really bummed me out. It gave me this like inner depression about how humans just deteriorate, and it's so sad. I don't know.
It's true though.
It's not a feel-good movie.
Well, I beg to differ.
Yeah.
I'll let you finish. I'll get to it. But.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No? All right.
I don't know. I mean, they could have ended up together. She could have got on the train with him, and like they could have had some happy ending.
They could have, but certain things, you know how much different crap that I watch. Certain things are just meant to end in a poor way, and John said, the movie's better for it. It's art taking over for once instead of money taking over.
Well, I think the difference too is that if it had some kind of happy end where everything like works out, that might have done the seriousness of the rest of the film a little injustice, because it seems to do so much to build itself up as a realistic depiction of life, and then to have something totally sort of unrealistic happen. Because, I mean, logistically with I don't know where they could have gone back and changed the story, but she didn't have any place to stay with him. She didn't have a train ticket. I don't know, a happy ending might have underscored like the rest of it, right? Okay, I'll shut up. Now, wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll wait till we get to me. I just wanted to say that maybe that's what. But I can see what you mean, like, because like as a viewer, like you're going like, dude, I'm not trying to be like crying here.
Exactly. There could have been like a fairy godmother character.
Like a winning lotto ticket, like blows
FDR
across.
comes in. Hey, Valley, here's my new deal. Could do for you.
Rolls up in his chair.
Yeah, but I liked my pick better. So
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
All right, John, what'd you think?
I loved it. It was great. It was really sad. Very, very much a tearjerker. It's funny because it sort of had the trappings of a comedy. Like when it started off and like the kids are there and like they're all sort of like wisecracking.
Right.
And, like,
there definitely was some comedic relief.
And there was, but then it's just funny that like you have like it's almost like the most depressing comedy ever made because like I feel like structurally it sort of was a comedy, but then it was not really happy or funny. Just those little bits of humor.
Like the first
sprinkled
Dark
throughout.
I don't think it was structured as a comedy.
Almost,
It was definitely a drama.
Well,
It was structured as such. I just think there was a
they
might have thought like, okay, this is a heavy movie. We got to throw.
They
in
had to
something.
throw some comedy in,
Yeah.
to sort of at least cleanse the palate a tiny bit. But I thought it was great. I mean, it's you think about those kind of things like with your own life, watching a movie like that, like everybody has parents and stuff, and some people have to kind of like go through that experience on some level or another. So that I think that's why it is so emotional, is because people can relate to it and to the experiences that but for both sides. Because in theory, I was thinking that like any one of those the adult kids, that could be them in 20, 30 years or whatever, they're going to be writing that same thing. They could, especially with the economy being how it is and so structurally unsound, any of them could go broke and then, their kids got to be taking care of them and they'd be right in that same boat. And that would be like, the ironic end of it, is dealing with the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was really good. I wish, I mean, even though I'm glad it didn't have a happy ending, I still kind of wish that it did have a happy ending. I really thought she was going to get on the train for a bit. I mean, even though she didn't have a ticket or anything, I still thought it was going to go that route. Because they had that whole kind of evening together, and like, maybe they would have just kind of worked things out. And also that thing with the caretaker of the farm too, like, dude, jump on that. Like, he's like, nah, like, that ain't going to work out. And it's like, maybe you should give that a shot, because you really don't have any other options right now. So
well, I wasn't the only one who thought he was going to get the job at the end.
Yeah, I thought it was coming. And just, one thing that I think the saddest part for me is that, kind of when they were saying goodbye, because, like, they seriously probably will not see each other again, like, realistically.
I think the implication is that you won't.
Well, yeah, and that's crazy to think that like that's just how it would end for like their marriage and their relationship, and that's just how it's got to be. So it's, but it was a really, really good film, really enjoyable.
Matt,
I really liked this movie. I mean, yes, it was depressing. I was definitely trying to keep the wet eyes from forming, but
yeah.
I am glad that there was some comedic relief in there, but because there was so much
sad.
Jeez.
So much sad.
There's so much sad, and those kids were just they're
jerks.
Especially I forget which daughter it
Cora
was.
or
Yeah,
whatever it was, the one with the chicken soup.
Yes. Come on.
Chicken soup.
Stone cold bitch.
Yeah,
Let your dad eat some soup.
Anti-Semite.
Come on.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, that was the worst part of the movie for me. I mean, not like, it was bad, but like it made me feel worse than anything else is how total strangers in the entire movie treated those people better than their own
way better.
Kids.
Yeah.
The owner of the hotel comping them drinks,
Comping
dinner.
them.
Yeah.
Well, I
old
thought that
Jewish
was
guy
great.
in
That
suit.
the whole part when they had their night out, and it was sort of like this fortuitous set of events that just kind of they've never had like money since they said that they hadn't gone anywhere since their honeymoon, and there they are in their 50th year, and through this just kind of random. The guy tries to sell them a car and takes them for a ride, and they go to their hotel that they spent at their honeymoon, and they kind of have this 50th anniversary that was completely unplanned, and everything just kind of works out for the night. They get comped drinks, comped meal, they go dancing, and they have this. You could. I could really see like in that night like the love that they had for each other.
Right.
You know, it like all the troubles of their financial woes and what was going to happen the next day or later in the night when he got on the train.
Yeah, that
It's
night.
Like all that stuff just kind of vanished, and you can just really see the relationship between them two. And I thought that was really, really special. And I think that definitely would have gotten undermined if it had a happy ending.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, I got to agree. I thought this film was fantastic. I mean, it was already on my radar. So I and obviously, as we mentioned, Criterion put it out. So there was clearly not going to be any doubt in my mind that it was a film of quality. It's more a question of how I respond to it. And I thought it was tremendous. In fact, I thought, and I don't know if I'm going to credit the director for this or the screenwriters or both, but it was very emotionally manipulative in all the right ways. Like, it was almost a melodrama in the way that, like, they really knew how to twist the knife. And they really knew how to lay it on. You know what I mean? Like the phone call during the bridge lesson.
Oh yeah, and all the people were kind of listening in.
And they all
you could
stopped.
tell that they were feeling.
Yeah,
They had a bad case of the feels.
and like if you didn't like, yeah, totally right. And the thing is, like, that the half of the conversation we hear is the stuff somebody would use in a sitcom to guilt trip somebody into doing something. You know what I mean? But she's being totally genuine. She's totally in earnest when she's saying this. She's not trying to manipulate anybody. She's speaking directly from the heart. And it's like really, it's really, you know, touching and really sad at the same time. There was lots of great moments of levity in there, especially at the beginning. Like the first half of the film, there's a lot of funny moments, and even and okay. Firstly, I think that's amazing because that makes you care. Like when it makes you emotionally, like it endears you to everybody. Everybody likes laughing. So when something's funny, like it endears you to them. So it makes you care about these characters. So it's like he's like it's like Scorpion, right? Like get over here, right? And the fucking jokes are like the spear. You know what I mean? It gets you here, and then he's like,
it's the
like,
hook that brings you in.
And then he's punching you out with
uppercut of
with the
sadness.
sorrow. You know what I mean? And then
Uppercut of
also
sorrow.
something else it did masterfully was make a situation that's making you go like, "Oh, that's terrible." Laugh at the same time, and not in a malicious way. Not where you're like laughing at somebody. It's like there's genuine humor in the situation, but at the same time, it's also really sad. Like case in point, at the bridge lesson, the rocking chair. You know what I mean?
That was played for laughs. For
it
sure.
was really hilarious. It was well done comedy. And it was also, like, terribly sad at the same time. And you don't get a lot of comedy like that. So it was really interesting that way.
It was a dramedy.
To call back to something you mentioned about, I think you said it, John, about how is this going to happen to the kids. I think absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't the last time we see them in a mirror?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
And I think that's kind of why we did that, because it's like, okay, assholes, like your turn.
Yeah,
even though Doc Boone actually was pretty cool. I mean, I guess okay, not pretty cool, but he was the coolest one.
They could have tried. Like I swear, if they all just clubbed together and probably pitched in a little bit of cash, they probably could have just got him an apartment somewhere.
Yeah,
I was thinking
Like
that
it-
like the entire
Right,
movie.
if all of you idiots just put a little bit of cash in an envelope and sent it to them once a month at the same time, they probably could have got a little apartment together.
Well, of course they
and
could.
been out of their hair.
Come on,
and
they got
just,
a housekeeper.
Well, exactly, right?
They're paying a housekeeper.
and they go out of
that
there.
fur their daughter was wearing.
No, they go out
Oh,
of
yeah.
their way to make sure you know that these kids are not like living in hock.
Yeah, I'll get my tuxedo on for the bridge lesson.
There's a degree of opulence or even decadence, if you want to put it in contrast to the way they're living compared to what they're willing to give up. But like, I thought that was a really interesting reflection of the sort of America and the way Americans are, especially. Like I swear to God, like we almost ought to have to all sit down and watch Tokyo Story now because of the contrast culturally. Because
It'd be
Japan is such a different.
feature.
Japan is so different culturally, and that sort of there's more sort of I think social obligation for offspring to take care of their parents than there is here in America, and so I thought the film was like a really good reflection of sort of that, like the kind of selfishness of the American ideology, kind of in a way, like Americans are all about me, and I don't know. I thought it also spoke brilliantly on just the way generations of families work, because I've often had this feeling, this philosophy that a child will never love their parents as much as their parents love them until it's too late and doesn't matter anymore. And like this is kind of like a reflection of that, you know what I mean? Because the parents obviously sacrifice to like the kid to take care of the kids and make sure they're all right, and they're all obviously wildly successful and stuff like that. And then one last thing, I'm sorry to be long-winded about this, but there's just a lot to take in. There's a lot to process. This movie was exceptional, really surprisingly exceptional. The whole sort of the not happy end, like it's kind of like we were saying. I think it's really important that it did have the end that it had, because that's the more realistic way. Especially because when people get old, other people tend to be more in control of their I think senior citizens lose some autonomy when they have to, obviously when you have to rely on a relative to support you and take care of you, you lose a degree of your autonomy. So they weren't even really in charge of their own destiny, but they have this act of rebelliousness because they're finally seeing each other again for the first time in, Christ knows how long. And they just have this tremendously magical, wonderful evening that's like the greatest thing you could ever have. And so, in a way, I think the film does have the happy end. It just kind of has it backwards. Because
the happy ending comes before the horribly sad ending.
The actual end, and because I mean that whole section of the film, when the guy comes out, and what's great about this is like, when we talked about it, I had these sort of expectations it was going to be depressing. So every time they're in a situation where people seem at odds, like with the car salesman, right? I'm expecting the shit's going to hit the fan. And tragedy's going to strike like right now. And I keep having that feeling the whole movie, and then it keeps like not quite happening. Like, and so then like I'm surprised by how sweet everybody kind of is. And it's almost like it really is kind of magical. Everybody's so nice. Like with the guy at the hotel comping them the drinks and the dinner.
Everybody that's not in their family is nice.
Right.
I think that was kind of punctuating that kind of point.
Ex-
Because like
exactly.
everybody was really helpful.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and it was totally welcoming and wanted them to have this great evening.
This couple has the power to move everybody except their family.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts at the very first stranger you meet them with. The old, well, at least the old man, the old Jewish guy. He's reading the letter, and then he's so moved by the letter, he goes over there. It's all like, "Hey, baby, come out! I need to check out your big jangly old booty."
Yeah,
and she's all like, "I got all this work to do, and you just want to see me?" Yes, I just want to look at you. I mean, that's the kind of power this old couple has, and damn well the only one with a kid, their 17-year-old kids who's banging 35-year-old dudes. Where were these girls at? They are not. She's not going to take care of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
No way. If anyway, she'll do a worse job than they were doing.
Yeah. And you don't even know how two of the other kids live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was so tremendously touching too, because like the film is building to the end, and I knew the end wasn't going to be happy. So I was trying to mine as much joy as I could out of their what is it, their golden anniversary? What is the 50th? Is it gold?
Diamond or something?
No, diamond is 60, I thought. I think it's
probably
golden.
gold.
I think
Gold.
50th is golden.
Silver is 25.
Yeah. So it's their golden anniversary, and like I want to live in that world where like the whole world like knows like what you need at that moment when you're in a time of crisis, sort of. Not that it was like, it was a crisis in a way. I mean, not that it was an emergency about to happen, but like this union is about to end, is about to terminate. This 50-year union is about to end forever. So it's like, it's sort of a crisis, you know what I mean? And I just want to live in that world where, you know, the band leader like sees me out there and he's like, whoa, no, let's play the slow one again, because he knows what's going on. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was really a fantastic film and a great night to start. So let's go around and what you're going to rate it on the Facebook page, Condi?
I'm going to give it 3 stars, but it's a really 3+ high. I mean, I don't want the amount of stars to reflect how much I actually enjoyed this film. I'd give it like, you know, a 3.6 or a 3.7, but I'm just, you know, going to round everything severely down, and I would do it. I would do it for any other movie, not just this movie. And, you know, I thoroughly enjoy the film more now that we've discussed it. You know, I liked watching the film, but seeing everybody else's reactions to everything and taking that into consideration, I like the film even more. You know, seeing them muddle about on the dance floor, and you know, the guys, you know, like, no, we're gonna do this, and you know, everybody's mouthing everything to them. And you know, you think about people that are married today. They're like, no, we were married on Tuesday. No, bitch, we were married on a Wednesday. You know, they're having, you know, it's not even an argument. It's super nice. So like, you know, oh, the nice old couple at Denny's. Look at them over there in the corner. And
the dude
manches.
was genuinely interested. That was the best thing. He wasn't just trying to placate them. Like he really wanted to listen to and be a part of their story.
I mean, he had already signed the paper. You know, like if you guys aren't getting what you want, you come see me.
Yeah.
And then he goes, you know, with them to dinner and has a couple of drinks with them there too. I mean, that just goes to show, like, what horrible motherfuckers your kids are. I mean, god damn it, they burn, you know, some of them.
I mean,
But, you know, like I said, only 3 stars, but don't let that reflect how much I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, no matter how depressing this was. Yeah.
Zeb?
4+. Just can't say enough about this film. Depressing, hilarious, great direction. Both of the actors were only in their 40s. Tells you a little bit about the makeup.
Yes,
late 40s, 49.
You know, no, but still, that was really believable. Especially the
she was supposed to be
wife,
70, right?
Yeah, Beulah Bondi. Yes, it was. You know, we were fawning over the makeup for Island of Lost Souls. That was fantastic makeup. I mean, I didn't until you said that halfway through the movie. I wouldn't have ever thought that. I was like, no shit.
Yeah, so high 4+ for me.
Okay, great, Kenzie.
I'm still debating on a 3 or a 4. I did like it, but it was sad, and I do like it better after talking about it. So we'll see. And usually I like it when you put up the thing on like the next day, so I have at least like 24 hours to think about it. And it also, how much I'm thinking about a movie the next day says a lot. about the
definitely.
movie. So 3 or 4, let's say.
He puts it up the next day if we're lucky.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be punctual. John?
Yeah, I agree with that. The good movies are the ones you're still thinking about the next day. They're the ones that they don't leave
Those
you.
are my 5 movies.
Yeah, and they're still hanging on, you know, and you're just going. I would give it 4 stars because it's a great movie of that era. I love old movies. I love old black and white movies. I love ones that show. I mean, because like it's more realistic because it's not happy and because it's, you know, that's the kind of shit that happened, right?
Except for sometimes.
And that's the kind of that and in a way you could make that movie today. Obviously, you'd have to bring in Alzheimer's or cancers or something, but I mean
cancers,
many cancers, not just one, a lot of cancers.
How many cancers?
Cancer, Kofi.
All the cancers. All the cancers.
You need like a penguin with leukemia or something.
Because that's, like I said, that's something that on some level we're all going to have to deal with on one level or another, unless you are an orphan. Unless you're one of the unfortunate orphans out there.
Yeah.
And then also orphans
If you're
with no
rich,
step-parents.
if you're a rich orphan.
Yeah, rich orphans do not have to deal with
Don't
this.
have to deal with any of
Everybody else, though, is going to have to deal with this on some level. So, and that's... and yeah, it's like a lot of movies out there that are really good. I don't know if I would watch it again because it is so depressing. But then I wouldn't say that if it was on TCM, I was flipping through the channels, I would change it, you know. But 4 stars.
Okay, Matt.
I'm kind of debating too, because I mean, this was said. I'm in agreement with this, that the best movies are the ones that you're thinking about a couple days after, and I think this movie is going to be a thinker, and so I might kind of hold off on it. But it's I thought it was really, really good, despite the depressing nature of the movie. I'm pretty close at a 5 actually on this.
Right.
It'd either be a 4 or 5. I don't know. We'll see, but yeah, just because it's sad doesn't mean it's not a great movie. It wasn't enjoyable. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever see it again either, but it's sort of like Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
Kinda comes
Oh
to
my
mind.
God!
Exactly.
Most depressing movie ever
Like
made.
but great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great, like a great
Yeah, it's
anime.
wonderful.
It's just like
Well, what did you tell me when we were talking about this, Ed, about those types of movies? Is they're so great, so wonderful, but you could only watch them once.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's because you don't want to be there. You know what I mean? It's
you're glad for the experience,
Yeah.
but it's like
Yeah.
it's not someplace that you want to
but
go back
it's
to.
hard because it's like, oh no, I cried. I'm
Yeah,
not trying
yeah.
to do that.
Grave of the
know?
Fireflies makes me glad I still have my cyanide tooth.
When things get too difficult in the
Oh,
screening room.
God, that movie's part of my
things get
suicide.
too
note.
difficult.
But I mean, that's what I mean. It's like I would rate that a 5-star movie, and I
Okay.
think I'm close to giving this a 5 stars too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm debating between a 4 and a 5. I usually say 5s for at least in terms of the Facebook for this group. I usually say 5s for ones that are just like super unbelievably amazing in like every aspect. And
you got to give it away sometimes.
I
though.
think. Well, I think this in a way kind of was though. Like everybody laughed when it was time to laugh. I mean, nobody was bawling, but clearly everybody was affected by it. I mean, except for Condi. I mean, maybe
Ice cold.
maybe
The man
a
with
few,
no soul.
Maybe a few flecks of ice came off of the old heart there, but
Don't lie to yourself.
but yeah, it's just masterful filmmaking. I mean, it makes you when you see a movie like this, you wish they could all be this good. All in all, I think tonight was a very successful night.
Yeah, good way to kick it off.
Yeah, good picks.
absolutely.
And I'm really glad we got 2 in. I
Yeah,
feel like we're going to have a
double
lot of
feature on the first night.
well,
yeah.
being 1930s, I think we're going to have a lot of double features until
Yeah.
this is over.
Well,
'Cause they
may,
just, I
we
think,
may.
I'm glad they were both from the 30s. I mean, my biggest fear was that everybody would just do films set in the 30s
Right.
and just make modern choices. So, and maybe I'm wrong about that because we've already had 2 and they've both been from the 30s, and that's what I was hoping
well,
to see.
hopefully this will set the bar.
well.
Great.
Also,
Yeah, make me feel like a dick for my pick. Thanks.
Now
Hey, but yours could be the standout one. Yours could be the only one that's not from the 30s, and then that would turn around and make it cool because
Yeah.
it would be unique in that
well,
sense.
and what's
You
great
say that now.
What's
I'm backpedaling it.
What's nice too is that the only one that we have to look forward to sucking is Jason Land's pick. So since we kicked it off so good tonight, we know we only have like one shitty one.
Just get through Land's pick, and then we'll be all right.
I can't wait until he hears this podcast now. I'm like,
You have to
you
edit
have to
this
hear
one
the
too.
end, man.
No way. Okay, so so that'll do it for us for this week of Las Películas Sábados Gigantes. We'll be back next week with who the hell knows what. Well,
Something 30s
we'll,
themed.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out next week.
Yeah,
who
you guys
wins.
enjoy it. I'll have to listen to the podcast next week.
Yeah, you'll be at WonderCon.
Yeah.
But the rest of us will probably be here, and then who knows who wasn't here tonight that will be.
Special guest stars next
Yeah,
week.
next
God,
week.
I hope Jason wins next week. I won't have to watch it. You guys
you
are going
can-
to have to suffer through that.
Wouldn't that be great if you picked something awesome though? I mean, I know it's not going to happen, but
He's got some good picks.
I know.
Come on,
I'm just
He's
kidding.
got
I'm
the
just-
lowest rated ones in general.
I'm just
but-
breaking his balls.
Broken clock is right twice a day.
I
Come
know.
on now.
Yes, there you go. Okay, so let's we'll go around and introduce ourselves one more time. I'm Ed.
It's Condi.
This has been Zeb.
Kenzie.
This is John.
And I'm Matt.
And we will be back next week. Thanks for listening.